Organic Mike here. Alright, check this out. So, I don't know if we can see this. Looks like the sun got a bad angle here. But anyway, this is part of my water freedom project. And it's also a grid down project. Still have fresh water. So I got both of these pumps for free. The one on the left here, the junk guys were throwing away. And when you plug it in, the motor would just kind of hum and turn real slow. So I figured, okay, start a capacitor or run capacitor, and it was the run capacitor, which is, this is what the capacitor looks like. So this is kind of going to be water pump 101. And what's cool about these pumps, this capacitor was bad. So, and I'm going to look at the hardware store for them. It kind of looks a little bit unique, but it's only a 2-prong. You know, it's got 2 taps with 4 prongs on it. So anyway, I had 2 of these pumps. I got another one from a friend of mine that he was having problems with, and I fixed it. But then I found that the pump's leaking into the motor area, so neither one of these were working right. So I took the capacitor out of this one on the right, put it on the one on the left, and swapped out the control boards. And this one works perfect now. The control board is good on both of these, so I have 2 good control boards. It's just the capacitor was out. So once I fix the leak on this one and get a new capacitor, I'll have an upgraded pump. So, and you're probably saying, well, this is not grid down because it takes 110 power. Well, the cool thing about this is this is a pressure tank and pump system all in one. If you look at the back of these pumps, they have or you put pressure in them, so you can have it 60. I think this one has 60 psi, and that's when the pump cuts off. This one's the same way. That's where you put the air in. So it's a pressure tank free system, which makes it smaller, and it's going to go on my back porch back here, you know, out of the sun. And this is going to be pumping my water well. Water. Easy for you to say. What do you think about this? You having a good day? Yep. You having a good day? Yep. Speak up. Alright. People are watching, so you need to speak up. So anyway, how is this a grid down water system? This is how. This is my high pressure side. So of course, if the power's down, I won't have high pressure unless I plug it into my solar system, which is right over here. And yes, I'm going to get it off the back patio. This is a 200-watt system. I got the panels for free. It's working. It's charging a dual battery bank right now. 2 12-volt deep cycle batteries and 30 amp. What am I trying to say? Charge controller. So anyway, that's going to go on my roof eventually. I just need help. It's heavy. Or I'm going to take it apart and put it up there piece by piece. So here's back to the grid down water system. I don't know if you watched a couple of weeks ago, but I discovered that my airlift was more powerful than I thought. So here's what I'm saying what I mean when I say grid down. There's about 50 gallons of fresh water here, and this rumbling that you hear is the airlift system that I have. So the water and the air come in down here from the well. And the well's this is probably about 300 foot of line, so it's traveling a pretty good click. And as the water and air come through here, the air goes to the top and it churns and it cleans the water basically. It oxidizes the iron bacteria is what's going on, which that's the bad stuff for you. And then once you oxidize your bacteria, your iron bacteria, I can't remember the technical name for it, but then you can filter it out with carbon filters or whatever type of filter system you have, and it's not sitting there contaminating your filter system. This is where the water comes out, goes to the pump that we were just looking at. So this goes to the pump. Yeah, I know, hard life, isn't it? It's one of my buddies. Anybody need any cats? So you're probably asking, how is this going to work? Well, this actually has a pretty good amount of pressure just sitting here in the tank like that. And this is fresh, clean water. You can run it through a Berkey if you're paranoid, or you could just drink it. It actually tastes pretty good. It's nice and clear. Look at this. And it actually tastes good because I'm ozoning the water that's going into the air compressor. So I have an ozone machine that kicks on about 4 or 5 times a day just for a short amount of time, which puts the ozone in the compressed air that drives the airlift pump. And that's how the system works. So this is ozone oxygenated water here. And there's my 50 gallons of water freedom if we have a grid down situation. And all I'd have to do is plug my compressor into my generator or my solar system. And I'm probably going to have a backup system just ready to go. So if the power does go down, my water never stops rumbling like this. And yeah, you're asking why would I put it on my front porch where everybody can get to it? Well, this is eventually going to be just for my irrigation system. And I'm going to put my in-house system somewhere else, out of sight, out of mind. So this will be for, let's say there's a situation like they're having up with Hurricane Sandy right now. There's still people without power, and that means they don't have water too. So let's say we had a situation here, and I do live in my property's right on the edge of the city limits. So, you know, let's play this out. Ready, set, go. Tornado or hurricane, no power, no water. So what would happen here is everybody in the neighborhood knows that Mike is that guy with fresh, clean water. See, all these people. At least I live on a cul-de-sac. My 6 acres is behind the house, and only the people that really knew me would know. But this way I don't have people coming into my house and a lot of traffic. I could come over here, open up the water spigot, give them a couple of gallons, tell them to come back in a couple hours, and they can get some more if they want. So that's the concept here. So this is probably going to stay. And it's really cool. You know, people walk up to my front door and they see this. It just kind of makes you think. And here's another cool thing. So this is working off of airlift, and the only way for this to work right is you got to keep the water flowing through the tank. Because if you cap this off, watch what happens. It'll build up pressure and it'll shut off the rumbling. And this was where my air and water were coming out here. Because this thing circulates about less than a half a gallon per minute to a gallon per minute. Depends on how I have the valve turned. So see how it's not rumbling anymore? Because I'm not letting it exhaust the air out. So this is what I did. I put a check valve here, so when I have my suction pump on that we saw on the back porch, it can pull the air in here, and it doesn't pull a siphon here if that line were to happen to fall into the fish pond. And here's what I mean by that. See, the line goes over here. So my water that I'm not using, let me open the valve now. And watch this is the water that I'm not using. It goes into my goldfish pond right here. And it doesn't normally come out that much. It's just because I just opened the valve. And when that comes out, it's oxygenated, it's cleaned, it's got a little ozone cleanliness to it. And it goes into my fish pond, the goldfish pond, which creates the type of water that I'm looking for my compost tea. And that comes out into this cooler that I rigged up with the overflow. So when I make compost tea, I'll shut this valve off right here. The water flows into this tank, and this water goes to water other things. And this will brew for about 12 to 24 hours with my compost in it. And my air stone is inside the pond right now, but I move it over here when I'm not using it to oxygenate my, to aerate my compost tea. So anyway, and here's the coolest part about the whole thing. This airlift pump is on its own pipe, so I can have a dual system. I can have another tank sitting somewhere around doing the same thing that I'm doing right now, and I can have 2 separate systems for grid down situations. So that water coming out there is what's coming out of the 55-gallon tank over here on the left. And The line just cruises over the sidewalk here. Deadgum cats walking under my feet, gonna make me trip. So that's what's going on with this up here. So with my situation, you do have to have your water going out somewhere. And that's how this works. Grid down water system. And people ask, well, how are you going to get water when the power's off? Well, that's how. And this is coming from the pump that I'm working on. I got about 60 psi, and I'm just going to turn it on just real quick and relieve the pressure, because I'm going to be working on that pump that had the bad capacitor, and get that thing up and running so I can have my high pressure system working. So anyway, that is my little situation right now. I got that tank that we were looking at up there, 55-gallon tank from the junk guys. The junk guys had this pump they threw away because it was just humming when they plugged it in. And this one I got from a friend of mine for doing some well work for him. And he was having some problems with it, the motor not spinning right, and I figured out why, because water's leaking into the motor chamber somehow, and it was causing it to freeze up. Go figure. So by the time I fix this one, I'll have me a backup pump for my current system. So I'm pretty excited about all this. I did this all with pinch and pennies on the cheap. So this is the grid down water system. Oh, and the other cool thing is the water that's feeding that tank that we were just looking at. This is the line, so I have a hose bib there. So if I wanted low pressure water here that doesn't have the water's not as clean because it's not rumbling in the tank with all the ozone, but it's still what feeds the tank. You could get water out here, and this line goes all the way through the house, goes over the kitchen, over the washroom, over one of the showers, and it goes out the back side of the house, and it goes down this trench, and it comes from the water well over there. So it's taking a long trip, but that's the way it works. So definitely water freedom around here, and all it takes is a little bit of compressed air to run the whole system. So if you have compressed air or an air compressor, the system works. And that's probably why everywhere you look on my property, there's an air compressor that I got. This one for doing a well job. Seems like all these things I have is from working on people's wells and cleaning them, but that's just the way it is. You get to trade out stuff. Right. You having a good day? Yep. You having a good day? Yep. Happy cat? I don't know where this cat came from, but he seems to like it around here. He showed up about a month or two ago, maybe 3 now, and he likes all of his friends. So anyway, I'm rambling now. Oh, this compressor, by the way, is a 1974 model, twin cylinder, Craftsman, Sears, and yes, it is a 1974. How can I prove that? Right here on this motor date code, it says 74. Of course, you couldn't see that, but right here it's 74. But anyway, it works. The only thing that was wrong with it is the gasket blew out on the side of the head here. I just need to replace the gasket. And you can still find parts for these. What a concept. So there we go. Grid down water system 101 and pump repair 101. OrganicMike.com. Subscribe if you like.